Welcome back to White Widow Sports. This is Brad bringing you part 2 of our Sophomore Surges mini-series, and after a lot of success and positive feedback from part 1, we're extremely excited to be rolling this sequel out. While part 1 was all about the wide receivers, today we're going to talk about 10 more players spanning the quarterback, running back, and tight end positions. While you don't necessarily have to watch part 1 prior to this video, we definitely would like to remind you to check that video out if you haven't already, especially because there will be some spoilers later on in this one. So let's not waste any more of your time and get started talking about these second-year studs in the making. Starting off with the tight ends, and the first player on our list today is former Nittany Lion Theo Johnson, who was drafted with the 7th pick of the 4th round in 2024. The 6'6", 260-pound weapon out of Penn State followed up a 4.57 40-yard dash with a 10.5 broad jump and a 39.5-inch vertical leap at last year's combine, numbers indicating just how much he stands out athletically at the position. The now New York Giant will enter his sophomore season with a new quarterback throwing him the ball as the Giants demoted and then ousted Danny Dimes. Reserve options Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock, and Tim Boyle unsurprisingly did not produce a long-term answer, and that means we should expect an offseason acquisition in the Big Apple to helm an offense that boasts 3 impressive second-year weapons in Johnson, running back Tyrone Tracy Jr., and the certified star at wide receiver Malik Neighbors. The latter proved to be quarterback-proof through his rookie season, but the other guys, Theo Johnson especially, will look to benefit from improved quarterback play after failing to reaching 30 catches, 350 yards, or multiple scores as a rookie. Working in his favor is that he'll be entering next year as the unquestioned tight end 1 after soundly outplaying every other option on the roster, which shouldn't really come as a surprise considering he also started over fellow Penn State standout Tyler Warren, who will look to have his name called early in the upcoming 2025 NFL Draft. Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, and Justin Fields are all possible veteran options that could be brought in, or we could see the Giants land a new passer via the draft, where the likes of Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, and Quinn Ewers have all been tossed around as possible selections. Only time will tell who is throwing to Theo Johnson in 2025, but it shouldn't be very difficult for the G-men to find an upgrade over who they had in 2024. While obviously there was one name far above all others in last year's tight end class, if Brock Bowers wasn't around, then Texas Longhorn tight end Jatavian Sanders would have likely been viewed as the top prospect. Despite a somewhat disappointing combine performance, including a surprisingly slow 4.69 40-yard dash, Sanders still displayed enough to be the first pick in the 4th round going to the Carolina Panthers. The Dave Canales offense began to hit its stride towards the end of last season once Bryce Young reclaimed the starting quarterback gig, and there's certainly reason for optimism heading into the 2025 season that Sanders will continue to earn a larger role moving forward, even if senior citizen Adam Thielen returns to Carolina for one final year. After securing 33 catches for 342 yards and a single touchdown in 2024, there's certainly room to grow for the all-time receptions leader among Longhorn tight ends. I don't really have much else to say about Sanders because he hasn't shown a lot for us to speak on, but that's kind of the point into why he's included in this video, because I feel like he's got so much more to offer than what his 2024 campaign would show. If there was one player who could have been pictured here on a milk carton instead of in uniform, it's Washington Commander tight end Ben Sinnott. The Senator was drafted in the 2nd round out of Kansas State, around 50 picks ahead of when Theo Johnson and Jatavian Sanders heard their names called. A Swiss Army knife-style player, Sinnott was used in multiple roles while in college, and while that may have hurt his overall production numbers when looking at the box score, his tape was incredibly impressive to watch for evaluators. The biggest thing holding Ben back in the NFL, however, is veteran Zach Ertz, who had a career resurgence at 34 years old and who wants to return again in 2025. Offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury has always hyper-targeted Ertz in his schemes dating back to their time together in Arizona, so it's not surprising that he wants to continue playing as long as he feels he's got something to offer a pro team. If Ertz and wide receiver 1 Terry McLaurin continue to demand so much of Jaden Daniels' attention, there won't be much left over for the talented gadget player. Even still, you have to imagine the Commanders will want to return on their 2nd-round investment at some point as they look to return to the NFC Championship game, and that logic is exactly what lands him on this list. The bar's been set pretty low, as it won't take much to improve upon his 2024 stat line that saw him bring in only 5 catches for 28 yards and a singular touchdown. But I think that's enough talk about tight ends, a position that's notorious for its tendency to start slow. So let's move on to the running back position where impacts can be felt much sooner. Something of an ugly truth, but there are just some players whose health you should bet against, and one of those players is Arizona Cardinals running back James Conner. For that reason, Trey Benson finds himself on this list as he would be the primary beneficiary of a Conner injury. While Conner did stay relatively healthy in 2024, he has yet to play a full season across his 8-year career and will enter next season at 30 years old. Even if he happens to fully kick the injury bug that has plagued him for much of his career, the Cardinals would do well to cede more of his carries to his talented backup. Benson was drafted with the second pick of the third round out of Florida State, and the former Seminole averaged over 4.5 yards per carry across his 63 attempts as a rookie. Surrounded by the likes of Kyler Murray, Trey McBride, and fellow sophomore surger Marvin Harrison Jr., the Cardinals offense has plenty of reasons to improve next season. If Benson gets more opportunities as a second-year player, he could help provide a spark as either part of a dynamic pairing in the Cardinals' backfield or while filling in as the starter in a workhorse role. Speaking of injuries, 2024 was a surprising year for the oft-injured position as running backs overall seemed to play more healthy games than usual. One of the players that learned how difficult it is to get and remain healthy, however, was Green Bay Packers rookie running back Marshawn Lloyd. On August 10th, Lloyd carried the ball one time and gained 8 yards before leaving with a hamstring injury. Keep in mind, this was after also dealing with a hip injury through camp. A little over a month later, he would once again go down, this time suffering an ankle sprain in Week 2 of the regular season, which would land him on injured reserve. His bad luck wouldn't stop there, as the same week he returned to practice from that injury, he would suffer from appendicitis, leading to the Packers placing him on the non-football injury list and essentially wiping out any chance of a momentum being built through his rookie season. While starter Josh Jacobs was in large part healthy, I'd typically lump him in with James Conner as players whose health you don't want to consistently bet on. If Jacobs were to miss any time in 2025, it could be a big opportunity for the 88th pick out of USC to crack the starting lineup and prove why he was so highly touted going through the draft process. We've got a couple of running backs left to talk about before we get to the QBs, but I wanted to pause for a minute to give you a chance to scroll down and find that thumbs up button. Did you find it? Perfect. Now smash that and give us a like to let us here at White Widow Sports know how much you're enjoying these videos. Secondly, if you watched part 1 of this series and you came back because you couldn't wait to watch part 2, that means that you're subscribed, right? Well, maybe not. Less than 20% of the people that watch Sophomore Surges Part 1 are actually subscribed to the channel. So if you found your way back without a notification, you might as well ring that bell for us so that we can let you know every time we drop a new video to watch. Your support is everything to us, so please consider sticking around. Now that we've got the business side of things out of the way, the next player I want to talk about is Jalen Wright. And that's because not only does he exhibit a lot of talent, but he's also got a path to relevancy that's recently opened up. Wright was a draft prospect with a lot of steam this time last year, and he landed in an intriguing spot when he was selected by the Miami Dolphins in the 4th round of the 2024 NFL Draft. What was most interesting about the selection was that Miami traded a 2025 third-round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for the pick they used to select Wright, so it's fair to say they actually used day 2 draft capital to add him to their roster. While the running back room was somewhat crowded upon his arrival to Magic City, the former Tennessee Volunteer is now looking at a lot more opportunity in 2025. Not only has Wright surpassed 29-year-old veteran Jeff Wilson on the Miami depth chart, but Raheem Mostert, who will be 33 in April, was released on February 14th. This paves the way for Jalen Wright to share the backfield with Devon Achane a season after only receiving 68 carries as a rookie in a year that also saw Tua Tagovailoa miss time with concussion issues. While Achane is an electric player on a per-touch basis, being 5'9" and 188 pounds means that his body simply isn't built to withstand the full workload of a rigorous NFL season. At 5'11" and 210 pounds with plenty of athleticism on his own, Jalen Wright could easily out-touch Achane this year and show exactly why those around Miami thought so highly of him. Few players broke out the same way that Tampa Bay Buccaneer running back Bucky Irving did as a rookie in 2024, as the University of Oregon product quickly established himself as a household name despite splitting work with Rachaad White. Irving turned 207 carries into 1,122 yards and 8 rushing touchdowns, while adding nearly 400 more yards through the air on the back of 47 receptions. The Tampa Bay offense, led by veterans Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin, created a ripe environment for the 22-year-old to come in and showcase a skill set perfect for today's NFL game. Equally dangerous on the ground and as a receiver, Irving provided immediate return on the investment that Tampa made by taking him 125th overall. So why is he on this list? How does a player that had such an incredible rookie season qualify to appear in a video based around second-year breakouts? Well, I think the answer lies within Josh Grizzard's promotion to offensive coordinator after serving as the team's passing game coordinator under Liam Cohen in 2024. This means that the same coach that brought Bucky into the offensive game plan and allowed him to take a good chunk of work away from a running back like Rachaad White, whose calling card was his passing game prowess, will now be running the show in 2025 with Cohen departing for Jacksonville. It really seemed that Bucky came in and proved that he was the most talented option in that backfield last year, so there are few reasons to believe that Bucky won't take even more work away as he continues to grow and improve as a pro, and that means we can expect to see even more impressive numbers in 2025 and beyond. Now, peeling back the curtain on the production of this video, and I myself will be extremely curious to see what fills the time that I'm talking about the first quarterback on this list. It might be training camp highlights, or maybe you're treated to some Michigan Wolverines tape. And that's because while most of these players got to show flashes of their talent as rookies, Minnesota Viking J.J. McCarthy found the opportunity to be the Week 1 starter ripped away when he tore his meniscus in the first preseason game and had to have season-ending surgery to repair it. This, of course, gave Sam Darnold the gig, and he had a career year while throwing passes to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and T.J. Hawkinson. That's a talented trio that will all return for 2025, which bodes well for how quickly McCarthy can hit the ground running going into what all intents and purposes will be his rookie season. Head coach Kevin O'Connell took home Coach of the Year honors after what he was able to accomplish with Darnold under center, so we should all be extremely optimistic regarding what he'll be able to do with the top 10 pick, who is reportedly well ahead of schedule in his recovery. McCarthy is a mobile passer who is able to remain accurate even while escaping the pocket and has shown the ability to create plays with his legs when necessary. He possesses all the tools required to be successful in today's NFL, and the union with Kevin O'Connell, along with the talented weapons listed a moment ago, we could see a true ascension for J.J. McCarthy in 2025. While it's true that I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan myself, I will always try my best to make sure bias doesn't creep its ugly head into videos like this. That being said, there's a lot of buzz around former Washington Husky quarterback Michael Penix Jr. and his prospects to break out in 2025. If you recall, we listed Rome Odunze, Jalen McMillan, and Jalen Polk in the receivers edition of Sophomore Surges, and all three of those players were supported by the arm of Penix, who became the 8th overall pick and was one of the biggest draft day shocks of recent memory. The Falcons had only just signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year deal with $100 million in guaranteed money when they used the top 10 pick to draft his eventual replacement. That switch would happen much sooner than most expected, as Cousins was pulled in favor of the lefty in Week 16 last year, and Cousins will now be playing for a different NFL team in 2025, with Penix taking over. Turning 25 in May, Penix already carries maturity and plenty of experience, but will look to take advantage of the opportunity to pilot this offense penned by second-year offensive coordinator Zach Robinson. Bijan Robinson and Drake London will continue to shoulder a lot of the offensive workload, making Penix's job a lot easier, but don't get me wrong, this young star is more than capable of pulling his own weight, and I expect his talent to shine through in a big way in 2025. The final player on this list is one who I think was an obvious choice, but also a necessary one. There is so much pressure on any player taken first overall, but I can't remember any player who seemingly had to produce immediately to meet expectations like those placed on Caleb Williams. Touted as being drafted into the greatest situation any first overall quarterback has ever seen, Caleb Williams was supposed to be free of any excuses when it came to 2024. Surrounded by veterans DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and DeAndre Swift, and also paired with fellow top 10 pick Rome Odunze, the rookie signal caller out of USC was supposed to hit the ground running and put up numbers never before seen by any Chicago Bears quarterback. 68 sacks later, and the 5-12 Bears found themselves finishing last in the NFC North, and without a head coach, as Matt Eberflus was fired after a 4-8 start. Interim head coach Thomas Brown didn't fare any better as he finished the season on a 1-4 skid. Despite the poor record, Caleb actually showed a lot of promise as a rookie and proved that he's got a lot to offer this league and should have a very bright career moving forward. Chicago obviously wanted to fortify their investment and made the easy decision to hire Detroit Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson to be their new head coach. Williams is a superior prospect to Jared Goff, and if we see the same kind of growth by this offense as what we've seen in the Motor City the past 2 seasons, Caleb Williams will have one of the best sophomore seasons possibly of all time. I fully expect to see a huge investment in the Chicago offensive line, and improved protection will only further the development of the quarterback, looking to remind people that it takes pressure to make diamonds, and I think he'll be shining soon enough. And there you have it. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching part 2 of Sophomore Surges as much as we've enjoyed putting it together for you. While much of White Widow Sports has revolved around our weekly podcast, these projects have been so incredibly fun and a refreshing change of pace to produce, and we hope that you feel the same way as a viewer. Please drop a comment below with any other ideas that you may have for similar videos or series we could create. Whether it be a different kind of list or even just a discussion you want our thoughts on, I'd love to read some suggestions on anything sports related you'd like White Widow to bring to life. And just like with part 1, I'd also love to hear what players were omitted from this video that you were expecting to hear discussed and why you were looking forward to their sophomore seasons. Hope to see you all in the comments below. Once again, this is Brad at White Widow Sports, hoping you have a great day.